be a sponge, and then bring the juice.
By focusing on your improvement, by focusing on your progress, and eliminating any fixed mindset that you may have and acts of perfectionism, then you encourage your own mastery.
On some level, we do what we want to do 24 hours a day. Now, sometimes it may not seem like that, but if I'm choosing to work instead of sleep, what I'm actually saying is keeping my job is more important than sleeping.
I'm tired of this. I'm tired of getting beat. What can I do to get over this hump? So mentally, that's when I kind of put that forefront, like, hey, it's either all or nothing.
I like to put failure in quotations because I don't believe that failure is true failure if you're looking at it with the right mindset.
The truth is, the journey to greatness is hard. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes focus, and every day you have to decide what you value, what you want to pursue, and what you want to achieve. And if you dig deep enough, if you push hard enough, we all have what it takes to be great. Welcome to the Edge of Greatness.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Edge of Greatness podcast. I'm your host, Charles Schultz, and today I have with me a very special guest, author, speaker, podcast host, husband, father, and just a great person to teach young people how to succeed in life, Chaz Jackson. Chaz, thank you so much for joining me today.
Dude, such an honor to be on your show, Charles. Thank you for having me.
I'm really excited to have this conversation. I think this is going to be one that is going to touch a lot of the younger people that listen to me, being the fact that that's a big part of what you do is inspire young men how to become better, how to become stronger, how to become great. But also, I want to start by saying I know you recently welcomed a new member to your family and your son, Nico, and I want to say congratulations, my man.
Dude, thank you so much. Blessed to have baby Nico in the house, a little sleep deprived, but
I can appreciate that.
I should be used to that by now. I have two older daughters, but he's such a gifted baby. Glad to have him as a new member of the Jackson family.
Absolutely. So in light of that, I also saw you post a quote recently saying, treat discipline like a muscle. The more you work at it, the stronger it gets. And so what I want to know is how this newest member of your family has challenged your discipline.
Man, that's an amazing question, Charles. And my mind want to get off of different exits here, but I kind of want to go into what I think the definition is for self-discipline. And again, there's so many scholars out there that have, different uniqueness on how they explain self-discipline, but I think it all blends together. But for me, when I think about discipline, I think about your ability to control your emotions, your feelings, to do things right, despite the temptation to abandon that righteousness, however that may look. You can draw the line and plug in the blank. So for me, with Nico, it's, again, I mentioned that sleeplessness, little man, he's only been really sleeping like maybe 2.5 hours at spurts, and then he's ready to eat. That's a good thing. He's growing, but there's like that little voice in your head is constantly like, oh my God, what's going on? And you kind of want to retreat from other things. So one of my rituals, and I'm working on getting more consistent on getting that routine back in order, but to exercise. But again, for me, I wake up every morning at 5 o'clock, I get my exercise in, I have my self-talk, I have my engagement moments before I really get my day started, before my children wake up in the mornings, if you will. But that routine's kind of been shaken up a little bit, having an almost 5-week-old this upcoming Thursday in the house. He's only sleeping like 2.5 hours at a time. Me and the wife trading off, feeding him, whatever the case may be. But the moral of me even bringing all that up, going back to, hanging tight, training that muscle to hold steadfast on things that are important to you, the values that are important to you, and really just trying to, chuck away at it and just hang tight. Don't abandon it completely. Just do it. Stay with your plan, stay with your routine based off of whatever moment you're in, because those moments don't last forever, if it makes sense, but continue to train and do what you can to keep what's meaningful for you in place. So.
Yeah, I feel that, and I know I'm going to have to work through that here in the near future as my wife's expecting in November. So I was curious how you were managing that discipline piece and how you were still moving forward with all that lack of sleep, because I remember those days and I know what that feels like. So you mentioned the exercise piece is a big component for you. Obviously, from your background as an athlete, is that something you've always maintained, or is that something that you lost after sports was over?
Another really good question. So for me, I've been around some type of exercise ever since I was around 10, 11 years old. It's been like this emotional roller coaster for me with exercise. I feel like it was a lot more intense, obviously training, being an athlete, having the opportunity to play at the collegiate level at one time in football. So, I mean, those routines, you being an athlete yourself is really, really consistent. I mean, you have your weekly plans, film, exercise, weightlifting, practice on the field, etc. I think when I left college, that kind of spiraled down just a little bit. But for me, and I know this might sound silly to some, but I have a tattoo on my arm, Charles, and it's a tattoo that I got when I was in high school. And it kind of one of those discipline pieces, and we kind of going back to that a little bit. But it's so the Tasmanian devil, and he's holding some dumbbells. It's like this muscular Tasmanian devil. And I made this commitment to myself back at high school that, this tattoo is going to remind me to keep physically in shape. And I remember going back to college, leaving college, dude, I had kind of gained weight. I had put on like 15, 20 pounds over what my playing weight was. And it was nuts. And I remember looking in the mirror one day, Charles, and Chaz, he looked at the form like he was way bigger than But I remember back in grade school and high school, 11th, 12th grade, that commitment to stay in shape and to really maintain, quality of life and really take care of my body. So that kind of helped steer me back to stay in shape. And also a big point for me is this exercise is like my medicine, Charles. At one point I really had a alcohol addiction, alcohol abuse. And whenever I really took that out of my life, I haven't had a drink of alcohol, by the way, in over 10 years now. So for me, especially talking about kids, work, however the case may be, I use exercises to get that good chemical release, to really, get my emotions under control, if you will. And man, it just makes me feel good when I exercise in the morning and tackle my day. Like I feel like my approach is so much better. And I'm sure someone who's listening to me can agree with me. I'm sure you agree with me, Charles, is how exercise, that dopamine release, that feel good chemical, man, it just sets you up to be on fire, to take control of your day and make your dreams a reality. So.
No, I appreciate that, and I agree. I think exercise is a key component to a healthy lifestyle, a healthy life, and a healthy mind. And I appreciate you opening up and about the struggles you had, because I think a lot of people look at people and see the success, and they don't realize that we all have had our obstacles, had our adversities, had our demons, had our struggles, and it's working through those, and it's a process, and it's a constant process. So speaking about your football stuff, though, tell me about Coach Crosby.
Wow, man, Coach Crosby. Amazing individual. I remember Coach walking in the gym, high school, East Rutherford High School, 9th grade year, freshman year. I remember Coach, first time I met him, PE, physical education. He had on this full blue jumpsuit, or I'm sorry, orange jumpsuit, not blue, orange jumpsuit. And it was of Clemson University. And at this time, I was a huge Clemson fan. Like, that's the school I wanted to go and play college football. That was a dream I had. And I remember when I seen him, I was like, that's the school I'm going to. I told him that. And he spoke life to me at that time, Charles. And I know someone's listening. Maybe you have someone that just spoken life to you, whether it's a teacher, a coach, someone in the community, someone, whenever you shared a dream with them, they would just say, hey, you can do it if you work hard at it. And that's what Coach Crosby did for me. When I seen him in that orange jumpsuit, I said, that's the school I want to play for? And he said, he looked me straight in the eye, and I knew, that was technically our initial first encounter, but he heard of me, playing in middle school and things of that nature. So he knew my background in football, but he looked at me, Charles, and he was like, hey, if you work hard at this, you can go play there. And he was one of the first individuals ever really to speak hope into playing at that Division 1A football team or organization, because, I grew up in a small town. A lot of athletes from my town wasn't getting those full scholarships to go to D1 ball. So again, he was one of those individuals that really spoke life at an early point in my high school career. And we grinded and he pushed me. So I always will remember him. I still talk to him to this day, Charles, in my 30s. We text back and forth every once in a while, man. He's just a really, really good guy.
Is he still coaching?
No, he's actually retired. I wish he would go back and coach, actually, because my old high school, we need a head football coach right now. And I texted him, I was like, are you trying to get back in there? And he was just like, you know what? I'm just at this age where I'm unable to fully commit to it, because being a head football coach takes a lot of time, effort, consistency. It takes a lot of time management as far as, and for him and the person that he is, Charles, he really wants to give 120%. And I respect him for just saying, hey, Chaz, man, I thought about it, but I wouldn't be able to fully give myself 120% to East Rutherford High School football. And he also kind of balanced some health issues as well, and that kind of played a part into it. So
yeah. So you've mentioned when I was looking through your website that you grew up in a low income area, and there were some obviously struggles with that and working through the low income lifestyle. Can you tell me about how that experience has impacted your life?
Wow, man, really good question as well. So for me, growing up, the odds was against most of the Black men growing up back in Rutherford County. In my environment, in the neighborhood, even in my household, it was influenced by drugs, alcohol. It was influenced by just poor leadership, if you will. It was influenced by, gang-related activity. And this stuff that I saw early on in my childhood, it helped shape, mold the way I saw the world, if you will. And I know there's someone listening to me, we all have our stories and backgrounds and situations based off of our experiences, our environment, the relationships that was brought out of our environments, and also the actions that we took. And I had made some bad decisions early on in my childhood, but also there's some self-limiting beliefs that was built early on in my childhood that it took me all the way to my adulthood to really overcome some of those self-limiting beliefs. And I don't know who's listening to me right now, but maybe someone's told you before that you're not good enough, or you're not smart enough, or, why are you here? We don't want you here. Or, you're not good enough to go play Division I sports, or however the case may be. You can draw the line and plug in the blank, but these are some of the things that was told to me at an early age. But I had got to a point where people like Coach Cosby and some other amazing people started speaking life into me. And I took that daily challenge upon myself to say, hey, that is not true. Those are lies. And I became victorious over some of those self-limiting beliefs. And now at this point in my life, Charles, I love, being who I needed when I was younger, and being that individual for other young kids that potentially growing up in some humble beginnings, growing up in situations where there's not a lot of life spoken into them. Because, there's one thing that I discovered along my journey is you really can't control the cards that are dealt to you, right? Whatever card game you're playing. But and using this analogy, thinking about where you grew up in your situation, but you can't control how you play your hand, right? And I took control of the cards that was dealt to me. And I learned over the years some solutions to some of the problems that I dealt with. I think I mentioned those self-limiting beliefs. Some of those was, low self-esteem, the way I viewed myself. And I learned and adopted some values and principles that helped me to really get a better version of a look of myself, and know that we're all gifted differently to make a difference. Learn that, hey, I can do all things if I put my mind to it and really strive to be a greater version of myself, because greatness lives in me. Therefore, greatness is supposed to be shared. And I truly believe greatness lives in everyone else because greatness made them. So that's kind of where I am. And I'm just on fire just to help anyone overcome that adversity that they're facing.
Tell me a little bit about what made you choose the sports path over the gang path? Because as growing up and you're seeing these things and you're surrounded by this stuff, what was the process for you to go and say, look, I'm gonna go away from that direction and I'm gonna go and gear myself towards sports?
Wow, that is a really good question as well. I think for me, I had a ton of emotional baggage that I was carrying. And my definition for emotional baggage is circumstances or problems that happen that just go unresolved. So for me, I grew up in a household where we really didn't communicate a lot. We didn't really talk about problems, situations, circumstances that happen. And all that energy, if you're not really discussing and talking about it, a lot of my kids, I encourage them to say, hey, if something's wrong, let's get it out there. Let's talk about it. Find someone that you like and trust. I want to encourage whoever listens to us right now, if there's something that you've been holding on to that you feel like that is keeping you from moving forward, is like that ball and chain on your leg right now, because there's that emotional baggage, situations that can be from your childhood that's limiting you from taking that next step in your life. I want to encourage you to get around someone that you like and trust, really open up. And I'm here, I know Charles is here. Really find someone to really iron out and start having some real authentic conversations, really go into the shadows, because that was something that I didn't know how to do when I was younger, those communication skills, and something that I discovered. And I really, really, really love talking about that in my programs of how can we build authentic relationship by having conversations. But for me, going back to that emotional baggage, so I carry that and I tested some of that stuff, wasn't necessarily in a gang, but, I hung in that crowd, and tested smoking and drinking early on in my early age, tested bad relationships to help me carry that emotional baggage. But none of that stuff ever lasted. It would help for a while, but it was still there. And for me, sports, that was one of those things that really gave me hope, if it makes sense. Like it gave me true, authentic hope. It was like I had these group of individuals around me that cared for me and that valued me. And we came together at one piece. We all had our individual tasks to complete this one play. It's kind of like, I like using the analogy, who's in your huddle. And if you break out of that huddle, when you have to execute a play and you go and run that play in life, we're striving towards whatever that goal is, that touchdown looks like for you in your life. So I think, to answer your question, what really helped me is I just found this safe space in sports, if that makes sense, of people, the coaches like Coach Brad Cosby, Matt Rule, thinking about him in college. He's actually the head football coach for the Carolina Panthers right now. He recruited me to play collegiate football. He was another one of those mentors, those guys that, they poured into me what their love of football looks like. And based off of who I am and what my love of football was in basketball, track, but football was my number one. It was just like I just found this sense of hope in it. And it helped me carry that emotional baggage. And I began to open up and be able to communicate a little bit more through sports, if that makes sense. So
yeah, absolutely. I love that. And so with your sports career, with all the things you've accomplished, what specifically drove you towards wanting to help young men in their journey now as your calling, as your purpose, and the things that you're doing? Because I know you're doing some great work with the young men in your community, your outreach, and some of those things that you're doing. I saw you spoke at a camp recently. So tell me about what drew you to working with young men and trying to help them on their journey and their path.
It actually started in 2012, Charles. So I was in a car accident at this time. So I remember driving my girlfriend's car. I was awoken by a car horn. I had passed out behind the wheel, Charles. I was inches away from a head-on collision, potentially killing myself or the individual that was driving. But me being a man of faith, by the grace of God, I turned the wheel to the right. I remember crashing into a gate. Minutes later, police showed up. I was taken to jail. I was in this jail cell. If you mind you, me being in this position, when I look back in 2012, that was like one of the most brokenest points of my life. And I say that because my football career was over. I graduated. So I had lost that source of hope, if that makes sense. So when I lost that source of hope, I found myself drinking more. Like I didn't really know how to respond to life anymore. I went from this guy, my life was built around athletics, and then I kind of got out. I remember my first job was at Papa John's. I had 2 business degrees. I'm like, man, what's going on? Like, I thought I was gonna have a 6-figure job, or however the case may be. But we live and we learn. But I remember I went into the state because I had left school in 2010, and this accident happened in 2012. So that 2-year span, man, it was really rocky for me. I was really trying to discover who Chaz Jackson was outside of football. And I remember going back to this jail cell, me being there, and I was like, I'm supposed to be here. But looking back, I know I've been kind of covering my upbringing and the environment that I grew up in. I was still, that emotional baggage was still there in that jail cell in 2012. But it took me, and she's now my wife, Amy. I'm shouting her out. And I know whoever's listening, we have some amazing people that just fight for us and stay there with us. She was there for me when I got out, but I knew there had to be a decision for Chaz Jackson to really, communicate. And we're going back to that communicating, because for me, I didn't truly start communicating and really start figuring things out in regards to that emotional baggage until that incident. That's why I bring up that car accident. So I sought counseling, and me being a man of faith, Charles, I became an authentic follower of Christ. And me taking these steps, getting mentors, getting coaches, getting people around me, and I keep honing in on this one. Communication was so key for me. That emotional baggage, it was kind of like, I remember in some of my sessions that I did, at the end, it was like I opened up that bag and I started really sharing certain things that was happening in my life that just went unresolved again, and really started really figuring out some stuff. Hey, why was I acting this way? Why was I acting out? And once I began to work through a lot of the stuff that was in the shadows, it was just like, man, I can fast forward to today, and I can say that I'm a best-selling author, that I'm a podcaster, I'm a certified leadership speaker, I'm a husband, I'm a father, teacher, and motivator. And it all came from me really asking my own personal self some of those tough questions and really seeking help, if that makes sense. Because I think us as men, and that's why I'm really passionate about young men, is a lot of us are really, really taught that, hey, us asking for help, that's a sign of weakness. Us opening up and having conversations, that's a sign of weakness. And I just want to encourage men that are listening right now, that is not, if it's been told to you, that is the absolute biggest lie that I've ever heard, and that you have ever heard. I'm just going to go ahead and say it, because it took me all the way to my late 20s to really discover that, Charles. And I think I'm passionate about, or not think, I know I'm passionate about that with young men, because I want to save them time, because that's all we have is time, right? And I think there's 2 ways we can use time. We can invest time, or we can spend time. And for me, I spent a lot of time, and I'm at a stage where I'm really investing my time. And I just want our young people to really value their time, to really invest their time. And I think if I can install in them one thing, and if you listen to me, young man, is I made a lot of those mistakes for you already. So let me share those mistakes with you so that you don't have to make those mistakes. And again, I think that's what really drives me to do some of the things that I do. So it was that accident, and really working on getting counseling, getting good people around me, really diving into the word, and just working to better myself.
You've mentioned several times now the emotional baggage and the things that you were carrying. Can you tell me about how much lighter you feel now that you've learned to share that load and share that luggage with other people? What's it feel like now compared to what it felt like back then?
Wow. If I really dwell in it too much, I'll start crying on here. But dude, it's amazing. It's amazing. It's amazing of, going back to you cannot control the cards that are dealt to you, but you can control how you play your hand. When you really just take charge of your life, it's an amazing feeling of just really open up, because, one of the things that I have discovered too, and how I've built some authentic relationships is just letting people know that you're human. I think I spent a lot of my time trying to live this perfect life. Nobody's perfect. Like if you're chasing that perfect trail or that perfect line, you're going to miss it each and every time. But for me, it's striving for excellence. I'm certified John Maxwell, and I love his work. And one of my favorite quotes from him is, he says, the signature of excellence is relentless consistency. So for me, it's just really living into that world of just being consistent, striving for excellence, in sharing, having conversation with people, and just building those authentic relationships, because it's hard to really gel and build those relationships without, that communication piece, and just really sharing how you're feeling, because people know anyway, especially speaking with kids in general, their energy, like they know if you care, they know if you're showing up with authenticity, if you're showing up in a genuine way. So I feel like kids taught me a lot, is just really, man, just lay it out there. I think you got to pick and choose your situations. I mean, I'm not telling you to go at McDonald's, a drive-through and just lay out your life story, pick your battles. But, I think when someone comes up to you and say, how are you doing? Not just saying I'm good. If you have the time, say, hey, I'm sleepy. Baby Nico, he hasn't been sleeping at all. Hey, I've dealt with that too. And that's how we, have those genuine conversations. So in my book, Live, Learn, Lead Powerfully, a Team Leadership Guide, one of the 3 B's in my chapter, Building Healthy Relationships and Trust, I talk about being exposed. So that's what I mean, exposing who you are, the real you, the real Chaz. And whoever's listening, I want to encourage you to expose yourself. That's how you really build those authentic relationships, in my opinion.
Oh, I love that. I appreciate that. That story is awesome. And I agree. I think we need to have those authentic conversations, have those tough talks, have those moments where we share stories that we maybe haven't before, and let people hear who we are and what we are and where we're feeling and coming from. What would you say is the number one thing that you try to teach these young men that they're missing, they're lacking, that they're struggling with? What's the common thread there among the young men you get to work with?
The one thing, wow. That's a really good question. That's a really, really good question. I feel like my mind want to go in so many directions with that one. I think I'll go here. I think the one thing that I really try to install in our young men is to really dial into your vision. Like, what does that look like? And, for me, thinking about odds being against me growing up, and there was not a lot of success preached to me on a consistent basis, I just want to encourage you to never trust your eyes over your vision. That makes sense. Because for me, and this is Dr. Miles Monroe, he says, your vision is your source and hope for life. The greatest gift given to mankind is not the gift of sight, but the gift of vision. Sight is a function of your eyes, but vision, young man, is a function of your heart. So I think we really have to get really endowed of what is your heart telling you, outside of what your environment is showing you. And we really have to really lean in on those internal pictures and really strive for that excellence on making your dreams a reality. Because, on my show, Gifting a Gift podcast, and whoever's listening, go check out my guy Charles here. He killed it on GNG podcast, his episode. But I say we are gifted differently to make a difference. Each and every one of us are gifted differently to make a difference. Physically, we are a gift, but there's a gift inside, going back to that heart, that vision. And I think, for each and every young man, we really, really have to tap into our giftedness, because your giftedness makes room for you, scripture tells us. And it also creates a table for other people in your path, whether it's your siblings, it's your family, friends, community. It creates a table for others to shine their light and to strive to their greatest version of themselves. So whoever's listening right now, I think the number one thing for young men to really to do is to really find out what they're passionate about and that vision portion, finding that hope.
So for those listening who maybe aren't sure of their vision, would you mind sharing your vision with us?
Are you asking me my vision?
Yeah,
or
your personal vision. Would you?
Oh,
share?
I thought there was a question. Oh, I got you.
Yeah.
Man, my vision, and I think it goes into my mission statement of gifting a gift. What gifting a gift is, and for those not familiar with Gifting a Gift podcast, is there to provide tips and techniques for young men as they strive to grow in personal development and leadership. But for me, my vision is to strive for excellence with this paragraph. And it's 5 points, and it's built off of 5 points and 3 sub points. But I share this paragraph with you, and this is my vision: to take the daily challenge. So take the daily challenge of becoming a passionate visionary who is determined to leave a legacy for themselves by adopting unwavering life values and serving others in the area of gifting led by God. So that's my vision. That's the vision that I live in, taking a daily challenge. So, and I mean, we can talk for hours about each one of those points. It's actually a book that's in progress right now, but taking that daily challenge, understanding that, hey, I want to be a passionate visionary, passionate about the vision of G&G, the vision of people in my path, the vision of my family, the vision of my church family, the vision of this community here in DFW and back in North Carolina, adopting unwavering life values. What values am I carrying for myself? Having a vision of that. Serving in that area of gifting led by God. So this is my gift to speak. I'm living in that gift, but for me, it's refining that gift each time. And that kind of goes back to the beginning part, take the daily challenge. Because I think for a lot of us, and I'm picking on myself, when I would hear a concept, I would constantly think that it would be something that this should be set in stone right then and there, but it doesn't work like that. It's a daily challenge. So within that daily challenge, I strive to keep gratitude. I strive to keep a good attitude, and I strive to stay self-disciplined. As we started this conversation today, that's a huge part for me. So
I love that. I love that. That vision's fantastic. I think I love the clarity of it, and I love that it's when you speak it, it has such power. So it's not only something that you're living and seeing and working through, but it's something that delivers power to those you speak it to, which is really cool. I've heard a lot of people talk about vision, and that was one of the first times that I could see your vision through your words, which was pretty special. So that was awesome. For those out there who are struggling to find their vision, do you have any tips or techniques on how we can help those young men, those young women, those people out there who are searching for their vision, who are not sure of which path to follow or where to go next?
Wow, really good question. First thing that pops in my mind, amongst others, and again, there's so many ways that you can approach this. Whoever listening, there's so many exits, and I'll give a couple of mine that really helped change me. And this is actually research based. Is journaling. Really writing down your thoughts. It really changed my life. One of my good friends, I actually started journaling when I started counseling back in 2012. But I really started a journal for my first kid, Zuri. Of her life, like what she's doing, and I really started getting into it a little bit more, but then I kind of dove into even deeper of concepts, and I have so many little pamphlets, like I have them like all around me, like it's like little thoughts of what I'm thinking at that time, what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, what is going on, like what am I striving for, what is my vision, what are my goals, what do I see myself at this point right now, where am I going? So I want to encourage whoever's listening, there's power in it. There's power in something like I have my little memo pads on my phone, things of that nature, and I leave notes too, but there's something power about writing things down. There's so many scholars that back up what I'm saying right now. So I think going on that path of finding what your vision is really writing down your thoughts and things that that you're going through on a daily basis, the dreams that you're having. There's a lot of research behind dreams of things that's being shown to you in that realm. And also, you know, I think the things that you think about the most really matters as well. Like what's in your thoughts? What is that one thing that you cannot kick? Like you try to get rid of it, but it would not go away. Like for me, personal development, leadership, man, I think about this all the time. Like sometimes I think I'm crazy. Like my wife would be like, man, like, can we talk about something else? Like it's just all I think about. Like, I couldn't imagine not doing it in the level that I'm doing it and where God's calling me to do it, because I know I'm just beginning. Like there's so much more that's coming. Like, and yeah, so I want you to really hone in on that. Like what's in your thoughts? What are you constantly thinking about on a daily basis? And just continue to seek again that hope factor. Like what gives you hope? What is that pain factor? I think a lot of times our calling comes from pain as well, you know, really dissecting in your pain, because pain is never empty. That makes sense. Pain is never empty. There's always something in your pain. I've heard this once before. Your greatest treasure is found in someone else's struggle. All right. So whenever you find your pain, or if you see someone else in pain that you feel obligated to go help and make better, or if you see a problem that you're eager about finding a solution for, I think that's a path towards what your vision looks like as well. And for me, I wouldn't be me if I didn't say this, but having an authentic relationship with Christ, me being a man of faith, and I know there's different things out there, different ways to approach it, but that's for me. You know, I found mine through being a Christ follower and just allowing God to align who I am and really seeking into that path. So yeah, definitely take those. And I would love to hear from you guys, because I learned more from you just as you learning from me of what's working for you. So I think those are some real key ones for me.
I think that's the key to this, is that it's a process, and everybody's process is going to be a little bit different. But I love the idea of taking what you said and journaling and visiting the pain and the discomfort we've felt and some of those things, because I think there are commonalities to finding our vision. And I think the more we hear about other people's paths and other people's journeys, we can become better with our understanding of what our vision is and what we want to be. So what does success look like to you?
Wow, man. You have some amazing questions. So my mind, so here's my thing, Charles. I have 3 definitions for success. I'll say Earl Nightingale's definition. Whoever hasn't listened to The Stranger's Secret before, please go listen to it. It's one of the best audiobooks. I have a copy of the book. Amazing. It's on YouTube right now. So Stranger's Secret by Earl Nightingale. But his definition of success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. That's powerful to me. The progressive realization of a worthy ideal. So what is a worthy ideal for you? Another definition is my definition I use in Live, Learn, Lead Powerfully. Success is a consistent marathon of consistency tackled one day at a time. A consistent marathon tackled one day at a time. But I heard one from John Maxwell that's really powerful as well. He said the success is when the people that knows you the best respects you the most. And that really was deep for me. Think about that. The people that knows you the best respects you the most. How many people do you know that's having so much success on social media, so many followers? I mean, so many accolades are happening. I mean, there's so many stars out there right now that you're like, when you find out their home life or the people that really knows them the best, like it's falling apart. People are committing suicide every day. And it's just kind of like, wow, like you would never, ever think that, you know, like this, the picture perfect that's showing on social media is just like, it's mind boggling to you. Like, man, you would think they had this perfect life, but the people that respects them or knows them the best, they're divorcing them. They're not supporting them. So for me, and the more of me sharing that, and I want to stick with that one a little longer. The people, success is the people that knows you the best, respects you the most. I feel like that's powerful because for me, I want the people that knows me the best to respect me the most. That's what's important to me. My family, my children. If they're not riding with me, then it's not worth doing for me. There's been so many opportunities that I could have taken to bring my business to more light, to where my wife is like, I'm not really feeling it, or it was going to pull me away from my family, and I just don't see that it's worth it, if it makes sense. So for me, I'm gonna show up and do as God calls me to do, and then go into the lanes that He's calling me to do, because I'm doing some phenomenal things right where I am. I'm living in my dream right now. It's just, for me, I'm just refining what I'm doing. I love what I do. There's nothing else that I would rather do than what I'm doing right now. But one of the biggest things for me is making sure that the people that knows me the best, the people in this household, the people at my church, the people, the kids that I'm mentoring in this neighborhood, respects me the most, outside of anybody that's overseas or internationally or at a convention or however the case may be. That their validation, is not the most important thing to me. So hopefully that makes sense. Though that's what I truly believe, that what success is the people, again, the people that knows you the best. Who are those people in your life who is listening to us? Knows you the best, but they respect you the most. That's important. That's what I feel like success really is.
I love that, because it resonates with my belief in greatness, is that it's not the accolades, it's not the achievements, it's not the success, isn't the awards and the accomplishments. It's deeper than that. Success comes from, like you said, the respect of those you love, the respect of those you believe in, your mentors, your leaders, your coaches, and your family, and those types of things. That matters the most. So I definitely appreciate that. Chaz, as we start to wind down, this has been an incredible conversation, but I want to know, is there anything I missed that you want to share with my audience? Is there something that we haven't gotten to that could be a good way to kind of close this out and send my listeners on their way?
Wow. Gosh, man, I think we covered a ton. I would love to send them away with a thought, if that's cool.
Absolutely. Let's hear it.
One of my favorite quotes is by Howard Thurman. He was the mentor or the mentor of Martin Luther King Jr., Howard Thurman. And he says this, the ideal situation for a man or woman to die is to have their family members standing around them as they get ready to cross over. But imagine, if you will, being on your deathbed and standing around you are the gifts, are the talents, are the abilities given to you by life. But for whatever reason, you did not act on those gifts. You didn't cultivate those talents. You did not bring forth those true abilities. And those ghosts are standing around you with angry, angry eyes, saying, we came to you. We came to you, and only you could have given us life. But now we must go to the grave with you forever. So the more of me sharing that with you guys, and that's a powerful quote to me, is something that holds dear to my heart, is there is so much potential inside of you. You're greatness. That's why I love the edge of greatness, because I feel like that greatness made each and every one of us. Therefore, greatness is in each and every one of us. I mentioned before, you're gifted differently to make a difference. I want you to go to the grave, not old, but empty. I want to empower, to help, to cultivate, to be a servant for each and every person listening here, to bring each and every endeavor, each and every vision, dream, goal to pass. Because someone needs to hear what you have to say. There is a lot of suffocating people in this world, in your environment right now, and you are the oxygen for them. You are the authentic oxygen for those suffocating people. I want to encourage you to speak life to wherever you are. You are needed. You are wanted. You are someone special. And I don't want those ghosts standing around you. I want all of those dreams, those books, those podcasts, those programs. We can draw the line and plug the blank. I want all that to come to pass. And me and Charles, we're here. We want to help you. We want to see you grow. And I love each and every one of you. I'm your friend. And let's grind. Let's make things happen.
That might be the most powerful send-off we've ever had on this show. So thank you so much for sharing that. That's an incredible way to end this conversation. But before we go, I do want to give my listeners a chance to connect with you. So please share where you would like them to go to find you, to connect with you, to see what you're doing on your journey and be a part of your success as well.
Yes, sir. So you can find me on my website at chazjacksonspeaks.org. You can email me at chazjacksonspeaks.org. Find me on social media, Facebook, Instagram at Chaz Jackson Speaks, Twitter at Chaz Jackson 44. Also can find me on those endeavors on LinkedIn, YouTube, Chaz Jackson, Gift and a Gift. Check out podcast, Gift and a Gift podcast. Again, it's a platform inspiring young men to grow in personal development and leadership. Have guests that come on that show all across the country and internationally just to share their stories, share what lane that they're gifted in and how they are impacting our next generation. And again, you can reach me from this amazing individual that's having this conversation with me, Edge of Greatness. And again, we're here for you. We want to help you. However that may look. I'm not perfect, but hey, if there's something that I can help with, inspiration, if you need some belief, hey, you can borrow something from me, because I know I don't know you, but if you listen to this, I know you're someone that wants to grow. So you can borrow some belief from me, because I know there's greatness inside of you. But we'd love to connect. And again, Charles, thank you so much for the opportunity.
Yeah, Chaz, I absolutely appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's been an absolute pleasure and a gift to have you on. So thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
As always, guys, keep reaching for the stars. Fall flat on your face, but remember, whenever we fall, always get up.
Thank you for joining us today on the Edge of Greatness podcast. If you haven't yet, please take a minute now to subscribe and review our show. Join us again next week as we continue to dig deeper into the key components of greatness. The path to greatness is never linear, so remember to keep pursuing greatness no matter what. Keep stretching your abilities, reach for the stars, and fall flat on your face. But remember, no matter what happens, whenever we fall, always get up. Until next time, I'm Charles Schultz, and this was the Edge of Greatness podcast.